My name is Antoinette Motloung, and I am also a self-loving Black woman. And okay, this is my Black and clap. Okay. But basically, self-loving Black woman was born end of 2017 when I realized that a lot of my self-worth had come from a lot of things that people had said they valued about me, or certain opinions that people had about me. And so when it got to a point where I had to be in a room sitting alone and I asked myself, who am I couldn't answer the question, mainly because I didn't know who that person was. And so I made an intentional choice to learn to love myself, and that's where self-loving Black woman was born. Because again, the idea is to love myself as a human being. And then I need to understand that I'm a Black woman. And already being a Black woman in our nation today is already difficult. It puts me at a disadvantage in the entire community. And then being a woman in a Black community further puts me in another disadvantage. And so it's very important that I learn to love myself, that I learn to applaud for myself before the world does so, and I learn to choose myself every single day, even when the world chooses not to do so. And that is where self-loving Black woman is from. So, just to get us started, I don't know if everyone can see this. Can everyone see this? Let's make it bigger. It will load, but while it's doing so, I love what Baki was talking about just in terms of self-hate, and how self-hate, as much as it's seen as a collective action, it's also an individual thing. It's a lot of projection of our own insecurities as individuals, our own self-hate as individuals, and our lack of disbelief in ourselves. Before I start, I really want to talk about the difference between self-esteem, self-worth, and then define love so that we can fully understand what self-love is. Self-esteem is your belief in your abilities. You can sing, you can dance, you can act, you can create content. And so the more you increase those abilities and those skills that you have, you start to believe in yourself and you have self-confidence. And that is what self-esteem is. Self-worth, on the other hand, is knowing that the mere fact that you exist and that you were born, you deserve to take up space. Nothing else should validate you except for the fact that you exist. And that's where, as humans, as Black women, as Black brothers, as the youth, we need to then stand at a point where we are now looking at ourselves as to what is my self-worth? How do I value myself before the world does so for myself? And then I want to then define what love is. Before I get started, a lot of people will tell you that love is an action. It is, it's an affirmation. It is you saying something to someone else. But for me, I believe that love is an intentional choice. Every single day you choose to do something, every single day you choose to choose yourself, you choose to take care of yourself. And so when we value something and when we choose something, we place some sort of worth on it. And so it's very important that we learn as individuals to choose ourselves every single day and be very intentional when we do so. And that's where I'm going to start my presentation today. As you guys can see right there on the screen, I have a clock, and a lot of people will tell you, whenever you listen to speakers talk about self-love, they'll tell you that it's a journey. There is no end goal to it, because every single day you are discovering yourself. You are learning more about yourself, and you're seeing yourself react to certain things, and you're like, oh, I thought I liked that, but I really don't. I thought I didn't like sushi, but hey, there's sushi and I like sushi. And so it's very important that we understand that self-love in itself is a journey, because it's a journey of discovery of who you are as a person, and it is a journey of you choosing yourself every single day. And as I keep talking, I will continue to say this to you guys, that it's very important to choose yourself every single day. Just speaking about my journey as Antoinette, I was born at Tembisa, and then we moved to Emerson Park, and then I went to a primary school, and then in grade 7 I went to an all-girls boarding school. And when I was at the school, I was introduced to so many things and so many people who I've kept in my life now. But one thing that I always remember is the fact that those people saw in me what I couldn't see in myself. And so it was always very difficult to understand why someone would say, no, Antoinette, you can do this, where in fact I would go and do it, but I wouldn't be fully confident in doing it because I didn't believe in it myself. And so I'm, again, very honored to be speaking today because I'm speaking in front of my sisters who I've known since grade 6. They were with me in boarding school. They've seen me from literally chipped tooth and everything to where I am right now. And so thank you guys for being here, and thank you for encouraging me to continue to choose myself and to take care of myself. Because another thing is that with self-love, there's certain things that you do as a human being. When you start to love yourself, the people around you, you don't even have to tell them that this is the person I am now and this is how I choose to treat this person. They will see by how you act towards yourself, and they will constantly hold you accountable to those things. And so sometimes when I act out of character and I start being unkind to myself, my parents will say, oh, but self-loving, what's happening now? And already them saying self-loving, even though it's seen as a marking thing or they're just teasing me, for me it's a reminder that there's a standard that I've set for myself, and it's important that I continue to live up to that standard because it's a choice that I have chosen to make. And so, just with the journey of self-love, I'll go into a bit of details, but again, the things that I'm sharing now are things that I've learned in my journey of self-love. I'm not an expert at this. I've been doing trial and error, I've been seeing psychologists, but at the end of the day, there are certain things that I realize are very important in your journey of self-love. And again, I've spoken about the definition of what self-love is, and that it's being intentional in choosing yourself every single day so that you can live to the fullest expression of who you are as a person. Because individually, as you are, there are certain things that only you can do the way that you do it. And until you realize that, then no one else will see it. And you can't wait for the world to see it in you. You have to see it in you first, and then you then have to do it, and then applaud yourself for it before the entire world starts to do so. And so the journey of self-love is, again, to ask yourself, who are you? You can't love something you don't know as to what it is. So like if I ask you now, Dowazo, who are you as a person? If you introduce yourself to us right now.
I am confident, bold, and willing to try and fail.
And that's important. So he's seeing things in himself that he values. And whenever he introduces himself, even though he introduces himself as Unjawaza, but there are things that he knows are of worth to him. It's that the world doesn't give you all of those things. This is stuff that you work on for yourself. And so it's very important that when you're sitting in a room alone, you ask yourself, who is this person? Because again, as individuals, there's so many roles that we take up. You're a student, you are a daughter, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a grandparent. And so in all of those roles, you always have to take care of that essence, because at the end of the day, there's that one person who takes up these different roles. You are not just a daughter, but you are a human being who takes up a certain role. And it's very important that we understand that, because that's not the only thing that defines you as a person. Then the second thing that then comes into it is the journey of unlearning. As a black person, in our black community, there's certain things that we are taught. This is how you love yourself, this is what you do. And growing up as women, we are told that if you take care of yourself, then you're showing love to yourself, which is good. It's a fact. I love taking care of myself. I love going to Clicks and buying toiletries. I love doing makeup. There's certain things that I chose not to unlearn because I realized that I enjoy them by myself. That was a choice that I decided to make. But in our journey of self-love, there's certain things that we have to unlearn. Growing up, you were told that an idle mind is the devil's playground. So for you, in order for someone to have some sort of value in you or to see value in you, you always had to be busy. You never got any rest. And that's why you will find that people are working, they're 40, they have all the money in the world, but they're still not happy. And they still continue to work so hard because to them, when they were 2 years old, someone said an idle mind is the devil's playground. And so they always need to have value to them, and for them doing so, they need to be doing certain things. And so it's very important that again, we learn to discover ourselves. Who are you as a person? And then we unlearn. And the last thing is discovering yourself. Again, discovering yourself is allowing yourself to grow and to be in uncomfortable situations. Because when you're uncomfortable, then that's where you see different sides to yourself. That's where you are able to engage with the environment and the people around you and allow yourself to learn. And I think it's so important that as a people we understand that part of self-love, it's not just about isolating yourself, but allowing yourself to be surrounded by people who will help you grow and help you learn and help you see how you can love yourself. Because one of the things that I realized is that in my journey of self-love, there's something called a self-love routine, or take care day type of thing that you do for yourself. But what I realized is that there's certain things that people do and they are showing love to themselves. So someone will take themselves out on a coffee date, just on their own, have a book, go to a cafe and enjoy time on their own. And I enjoyed that. So I was like, let me adopt it and see if that works for me. And it did. I enjoy spending time on my own, reading a book, having a cup of coffee, and then I'll leave. So I allowed someone else to teach me while I was in that space of also unlearning and learning certain things, and I discovered new things that I enjoy doing. And moving right along to this is standing in your truth. A lot of the times if you don't know who you are as a person, you don't know what your truth is. Or sometimes you're in denial about your own truth. Taraji P. Henson said something. She said, when you stand in your truth, no one can ever use it against you. If you take away anything from the session, let it be choose yourself, and if you stand in your truth, no one can ever use it against you. Growing up, I was always told, oh, Karabo, you love attention. You like people looking at you, and I'd always be shy about it because liking attention was always a bad thing for me. Until I realized that I actually do like being like the center of attention. I like being in the spotlight. It's who I am. And I'm my best version when I am in the spotlight. And so I stopped being in denial of that and I stepped into my truth. So when someone comes to me and says, Antoinette, you like attention, I'm like, girl, listen, you don't know, okay? You don't want to know because it's my truth. And if you're going to come at me with my truth and try to use it against me, I already know it, so you don't have to use it as a weapon against me. And so it's very important that we know what our own truth is and we can stand in that every single day and we're not shaken by anyone's perception of us or their own opinions, because again, you already have your own opinion of yourself and you know what your truth is, and it's important that you stand in that. And just with standing in your own truth, in the workspaces, or even in university, I believe a lot of us are still in university. There's a lot of things that we're scared to try because we feel that it goes against what we were taught when we were kids, it goes against your values. But I realized that as soon as I stepped out of my comfort zone or what I was always told not to do, I grew. And I became a better version of myself because I was allowing myself to be uncomfortable. I was allowing myself to be challenged by certain things. And when there's challenge, as a human being, you always want to learn more. It's either you learn more or you become very distant and you don't want to engage with the challenge. Being the person that I am, I've always wanted to engage with challenges because I believe that I can always learn from something. And so part of standing in your truth is knowing that you can be in a situation, an uncomfortable situation, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. And it doesn't make you less than, or it doesn't make you love yourself any less. And that's why it's so important that we allow ourselves to fail and we allow ourselds to make mistakes. Because making a mistake doesn't mean anyone's going to love you any less. It doesn't mean you will stop choosing yourself. I want you to think of a child who's been raised by a parent that always confirmed every single thing that they did and encouraged them to try to do certain things. So that child will be able to go out into the world, try something else and fail at it, but they'll still come back home and talk to their parent, and they'll know that that parent will still value them the same, because it's not what they can do that matters, but it's the fact that in their essence, as a child, as a human being, they are allowing themselves to be better and to grow and to continue to live up to the fullest expressions of themselves. Quote unquote, no more. And then the other part is taking care of yourself. I've spoken so much about this, but a lot of the times as human beings, we tend to neglect ourselves and take care of other people. I used to have a project management mentality. Used to think that I can fix other people so that I don't have to think about my own problems. But when you do that, you're draining your own essence as a person. You're can't fill up someone's cup if yours is running dry. And so when you are in this journey of self-love, it's very important that you are always taking care of yourself. Again, be very mindful that while you're taking care of yourself, you are not hurting other people in the process. Because as cliche as it is, the phrase hurt people still stands. And so we have to be very mindful and very self-aware of our actions and what we say and what we do, so that while we are healing ourselves, we are not hurting other people in that process. And that's why taking care of yourself is very important. Again, these are things that you learn in this journey, and it's not something that's going to happen over time. It's a habit that you build up. It starts with small things that you do, and then you'll get to the milestone. So I don't want you guys to think, oh yeah, she woke up one day, she cut her hair, went bald, and then she was all self-loving black woman. That didn't happen. I did cut my hair, I did go bald, but it took me a year, and I think it's still taking me a while to get to a point where I'm learning how to do these certain things. But what I've realized that they've helped me be a better person, be a better friend, be a better daughter, be a better student. I am now able to take up any challenge that I want to, and I know that even if I fail at that, I'm gonna be okay, and I'm not gonna think any less of myself, because all the pressure that we place on ourselves at the end of the day, it doesn't do us any good. It only goes on to hurt us. And just to touch on the different roles that we take on as human beings, I was listening to a podcast. So I'm a social media influencer, and I love listening to other social media influencers when they're creating content. And there was a podcast I was listening to by Mpumi and Yols. Mpumi and Yols are natural hair content creators. And in this podcast, they were talking about the colorful world of womanhood. And I'll speak to the ladies right now. As women, there are so many roles that we take, and it is intrinsic in us that we will nurture every single person around us. We will want to make sure that everything is running smoothly, and then we forget to take care of the human, of the woman that has to do everything else. And what you often find is that there's no one else taking care of you. You're out here nurturing everyone else, but you're not nurturing you, and no one else is nurturing you. And so what happens is that in us neglecting ourselves, everything else around us fails. For the first 3 months of this year, I was working, I was a student, I was creating content, I was doing so much that last month I had a breakdown because I was forgetting to take care of myself. And eventually I called Danelle and I said, I'm not okay. I'm falling apart, and she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know what's wrong, because all the problems that I've been having, I didn't pay attention to them. I just dampened them down. And so the core of the issue is all the way there at the beginning, but I'm here at the end and I don't even know how to get to the beginning. And so it's so important that we learn to take care of ourselves. If you feel a certain way, if you know that you're not doing well, step back and actually take care of that emotion, whatever's happening in that space. Take care of that so that you can excel at being every single thing that is up there. Being a friend, being a mother, a daughter, an employee, a